Hello, friends, and welcome. The stories on today's episode may not be suitable for all viewers due to frightening or disturbing situations, graphic scenes, and death. Viewer discretion is advised. Feel free to skip this video if necessary and always put your mental health first. Not me, but my dad. When my sister and I were teenagers, we wanted to get one, and our mom said yes. When she mentioned it to my dad, he flipped out and said, "No way, absolutely not. One of those things is never coming in this house." My mom had never heard him so upset and asked him what the issue was. He refused to say anything and said the conversation was over. A few weeks later, he finally told my mom his story. When he was younger, he had a friend whose older sister and boyfriend used one. The boyfriend had asked if he would be rich, and the board said yes. 2 years later, the guy was in a horrific car accident and ended up being paralyzed from the neck down. The accident was because of an issue with the car, and the family successfully sued the manufacturer. The guy was awarded millions, so he was rich but confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. When my dad and everyone else heard about it, all they could think of was the encounter with the board a few years prior. Not sure how much I believe in it, but I did have a creepy experience. My friend and I were using one in college. The board started spelling my boyfriend's name, then gibberish, over and over again. His name, then gibberish. We decided to write down what it spelled and ask my boyfriend about it. When we showed him, he grew concerned and then left us. Found out later he called home and discovered his grandmother had died that day. The board was spelling a message to him phonetically in another language from her. My friend and I were in our teens when we did this. We invited my younger sister, who was about 10 or 11, downstairs to the basement after we had set up candles and a homemade Ouija board. My friend and I put our hands on top of the planchette, closed our eyes, and moved it around the board, chanting for effect. The two of us couldn't help but laugh while my sister was terrified. We told her it was her turn and to also put her fingers on top. We started the ritual again. My sister asked if anyone was there. The planchette moved to yes. My sister let go and started crying. I started sweating and my friend backed up in shock. I know I didn't move it. My friend said he didn't move it. And my sister, I doubt she moved it. We were terrified as we crumpled everything up and went upstairs. The lights were off, so we grabbed a candle and sat in the middle of the living room. It was so quiet in the house. We have cats, but couldn't see them. However, we could hear footsteps walking up the stairs from the back of the house. We blew out our candles and ran outside. I called my mom and asked her to come home. I haven't tried to play with a Ouija board since. Weird stuff happened in my house after that. We had a mirror fall off the wall and slide about 5 feet from the wall. I had a computer chair that started to spin on its own. To this day, my friend swears there was someone sitting at the top of my basement stairs. When I was a teenager, I would go to my grandma's and she would have me make a Ouija board out of paper and a CD so I could communicate with my uncle, who was a stillborn. The Ouija board never worked when my grandma tried it, but it would work for me. In the beginning, it did seem as though my uncle was communicating with us. The energy was very innocent and childlike. After a few times, the energy started to feel really heavy and dark, so I asked if I was still speaking with my uncle. The entity told me no. It said it had my uncle and that it was going to take me too. As soon as it said that, I blacked out for a few seconds, and the light bulb in the dining room exploded. I burned the paper, broke the CD, and will never play with a Ouija board again. My mother and her little sister had recently moved into a new house, an old Victorian built in the 1890s. This was the late 1960s, and Ouija boards were all the rage. They contacted a spirit who called herself Mrs. Moon, and she told them she lived in the house and that her husband had died of a heart attack after their only son died in World War I. After that, she said she took on boarders. She seemed friendly, but it freaked them both out, so they went to the library, and the public records they found proved everything Mrs. Moon had said. Flash forward to the 1980s. My parents bought the house from my grandparents, and I grew up there. I always felt a presence, even when alone. Things were always moving around when it made no sense. It wasn't until I was maybe 15 that my mom explained that so many weird things I experienced in the house were Mrs. Moon. She was a benevolent spirit, but she became angry when we were about to move. I refused to ever touch one, but an ex of mine and a couple of my friends used one when I was around. They decided to use it in an old graveyard in our town. Knowing it was a bad idea, I only went to make sure that they were careful. They started using it, and I felt everything was just off. I could already sense that something wasn't right. I tried to get them to stop, but they wouldn't, until my ex asked if the entities would show themselves. I saw 3 different entities: a dark figure, an older woman, and a child. One of my friends saw them too and immediately said we needed to say goodbye before something happened. They did, and we ran with my friend shouting, "You are not allowed to follow us home. You are not welcome to follow us." We got in the car and drove off. After that, we didn't speak about it until recently. I brought it up with my friend, and she said that night still gives her chills. I had a sleepover in 8th grade for Halloween. While watching The Pit and the Pendulum, a very good friend and I started using a Ouija board. The spirit told us we were speaking to an evil spirit named Tom. Then the planchette started going on its own, and my friend got a full-on gushing bloody nose. We stopped for the night, but after that, items in my room, like little porcelain statues, would be moved. I made my mother burn the board after that. About 15 years later, a coworker was going to play with her Ouija board, and I told her to ask about that night in the name of my friend. The board answered the correct name. My mom and dad weren't getting along as well as they had previously. She and some friends had a Ouija party, and it indicated my dad was having an affair with our neighbor, which turned out to be true. For the next 6 months, though, we had a playful spirit or poltergeist in the house. It terrified us kids. The local parish priest held an exorcism, and we never saw it again. In college, my roommate asked me to use the Ouija board to ask the college ghosts if they'd taken something. I did it in my darkened room with the doors closed and locked. I saw something tall, shadowy, and covered in darkness reaching down to grab me in the mirror in front of me. I ran out of my room and waited for my roommate to come back before going back in. Back in the early 1980s, my friend Paul and I walked from his apartment to our other friend Jim's apartment in the same complex. Paul and I were both feeling something creepy there. We were told that a group of people had been using a Ouija board there earlier. Paul and I felt that we needed to leave. As we headed back to his apartment, we both felt something following us and took off running as fast as we could, got to his apartment, slammed the door, and locked it. We didn't see anything, but we both knew that something frightening was after us. This happened way back in the mid-1960s. I would have been 6 or 7 and my brother 4 or 5. Our mom was there with us. We were in the kitchen of our home. I don't know why we had a Ouija board. They were looked at differently in those days. We didn't really understand the danger, just a fun game. So our mom was standing there watching us, and we started asking about our ancestors. We were little kids and didn't know how to spell much, but it said we were from the Scottish clan of Stuarts, the line of royalty. Mom was just reading the answers. Then the board said it was going to come visit us. It said it was flying over the Atlantic, then New York City, St. Louis, almost to our house. It said it was here. Our mom was freaking out. Then we started hearing a bunch of clatter and loud noises down the hallway toward the bedrooms. Mom got really scared and took the Ouija board out to the trash. I always remembered it so clearly. It was so strange and scary. I played with a friend at a sleepover and we asked some standard questions, including who we would marry. I got Calvin, she got Josh, still to be determined on those. But for weeks and months afterwards, random objects would fall off the cabinets and tables in our apartment until the day my mom said out loud, "Okay, whatever is in here needs to get out." Then it stopped. Thank you, friends, for joining me today. If you enjoyed the stories in this episode, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be alerted to all future content. If you have a story you would like me to read, feel free to email me your submission for a chance to hear your story on a future episode. Thank you again, friends, for your love and support. I'm Avarea, and until next time, take care.